What's going on? It is episode number 47 of the Start the Rebuild podcast, otherwise known as the STR podcast. I'm Ian Mills, joined by Timothy Fournier and Zachary Patron for episode 47, also known as the Chris Cooley episode.
Pretty much the only one I got for this is Andre Kirilenko, AK-47,
That's a good one.
aka AK-47.
Mm. Zach, you got anything?
I got nothing like non-hockey related, so I might as
You can
well
go
just
hockey. If you want to go
Go
hockey, you can
hockey.
go
What is
hockey.
wrong with hockey?
Andrew McDonald, Flyers defenseman.
Wow.
What
Um,
a pull. What a pull.
So Jerry Lucas, Atlanta Hawk, I guess technically St. Louis Hawks legend, and then John Lynch would have been the other guy.
I swear there
Oh
was
yeah,
like an Eagles corner that used to wear 47, like Byron Maxwell or something.
That wouldn't shock me.
where?
Thiago Splitter in 2017 with the Sixers did. But nevertheless, it is last week we did NFC over unders, so we're gonna flip the script and go to the AFC and do over unders. Um, I think it makes most sense. Start with the AFC East and then go westbound. So we will start with the Buffalo Bills. Their number is 10 and a half games. Zach, we'll start with you. 10 and a half games, the Buffalo Bills. Are they going over or under on that?
I'm going over. Um, I think of all of the new head coaches, I think Joe Brady is probably in the best situation, and I think a lot of that has to do with the quarterback. In fact, all of that has to do with the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like the Bills aren't the best roster in the world. Like we can name their top three players probably if you go Josh, Dion, Dawkins, Cook, and then like who is their fourth best player? I feel like you can name like probably like eight names who can be in contention for that. Like they don't have the best roster in the world, but I think they have the best quarterback in the league. And I feel like if Josh can stay healthy, I think they have the highest floor in the league. And you know, I think that division is going to be. I think the Pats are due for a regression. We'll get to that. And then the other two teams I think are going to be dismal. So I think the Bills are a pretty comfortable over here. I could see them winning 12 to 13 games again.
I'm gonna zig just a little bit. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be a good team. I think they'll hover between 10 and 11. Only reason I say that is because it's a pretty darn tough schedule, considered compared to last year. I think that's honestly the main reason is like this is like they go Houston, who they struggle against perpetually, versus Detroit, versus the Chargers, versus the Pats, at the Rams, Raiders, and then Ravens, Vikings. It's like that's a really tough first 10 weeks of the season. Even if you want to give them like a free win in there, one or two, down the stretch with the Jets and the Dolphins, that's a really tough schedule. Now, I do think they're going to still like win a lot of those games. I think they're going to still get to 9, 10, 11 wins. As I said, I still think they're going to be in contention to win the division. It's the schedule and it's the defense. I think Jim Leonard is going to do a ridiculously good job. But the problem is, it's the personnel. I don't really trust the defensive personnel, especially early on. I don't love their pass rushing group. I don't love their interior defensive line, like Deion Walker and TJ Sanders. Like the idea of them being, two guys now in year two and Ed Oliver being healthy. I love that idea. Drew Barry. But like, I think they're going to struggle. I think the defense is really going to struggle this first couple of weeks. I think by midseason, we're going to be like, oh, this is a pretty decent group. But I think early on, they're really going to struggle, especially in the run, especially against the run, just like they did last year. So I'm going under, but I could see that. But like, no, I wouldn't be shocked if they get 11 wins. I don't see 13 wins for them. I see closer to 10 or 11.
Yeah, I think I honestly landed pretty much in the middle of you two where I picked the over, but it's like I'm going through their schedule and I'm picking them to win exactly 11 games. They pretty much have their four easy division games against the Jets and the Dolphins. Sometimes those games get weird, but I'm gonna like never be going into like looking at that one of those games on the schedule being like there's any way the Bills lose this. And they have
Mhm.
the Raiders game and pretty much every single other game, so that's what 12 other games is like, oh, this is a good team. Like it's
Yeah.
they have a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I picked 10 or over because I think they're going to win 11 games if I'm just looking at the schedule. Um, one my thoughts going into this was like I think the Patriots are the most obvious regression team. I think the Bills are going to win the division, and I think that's very much still in the cards, and I'd probably pick it to still happen. But Their schedule is really hard, and
Yeah.
those first 5 games, I do not think it would be with a new coordinator, Jim Leonard. Like you're kind of saying, I'm really excited about him, but I don't think they quite have like his style of defensive personnel kind of in place
Mhm.
yet. Like I think the Bills could very easily start 2-3. I don't want to say 1-4 because that would be like, oh my God, what's happening? But
Right.
I think as the schedule goes along, they'll like right the ship and it'll be okay, we won 10, 11 games and we're going to the playoffs as scary as anyone.
They have a
Yeah.
second place schedule like on in their division, but I think they're like versus the Patriots, like I think the Patriots got like the easier matchups in a sense
Right.
because it'd be the Patriots are playing like in the conference, the Patriots are playing the Steelers,
So do the Ravens.
the instead of the Ravens,
Yeah.
Jags instead of the Texans, which the Bills don't really match up well against the Texans.
Yeah.
And then it would be the Chargers over the Broncos, right? Which I guess is kind of a toss-up, but if the Broncos take a step back. So yeah, I think they honestly unlucky with the second place schedule.
So we'll pivot to the Patriots, the other team, 10.5. We all picked under. We all kind of talked about the regression a little bit, but Tim, I'll jump to you. Why are the Patriots your big regression indicator here?
The schedule's definitely way harder this year. I think they have a little bit more of a target on their back and people kind of know what they were like last year. And looking at this, I kind of felt like the Bills were in that 10-11 win range and the Patriots are more in that 9-10 range. This is why I'm picking under. I think they're going to be a good team, and I don't think this is a unique take. I feel like I've heard it 5,000
Mhm.
times, is that the Patriots could be a better team this year but have a worse record. That's almost
Right.
like guaranteed to
Yeah.
happen. Like I don't think there's any way they win 14 games or whatever they won again. But they could very well be going into the playoffs as a better team than last year.
Zach?
Yeah, I obviously took the under two. I struggled with this one. I like went through the schedule with this one and I landed at 10. Um, and again, like kind of my argument with the Seahawks is like, is anyone gonna really scoff at like a 10-7 season following up like your Super Bowl hangover year? Um, like if you come out and you win 10 games in that conference this year as the Patriots, and let's say even you're like the 2 seed in the division, like that's not necessarily a bad year. I think they did bolster their offense with Dobbs and AJ Brown, but like I don't know. I struggle to see them having that same kind of pop. And I think we saw a lot of that with their schedule last year. Obviously, the schedule's harder this year. But kind of like Tim and everyone else said, like they could be more impressive and be more competitive, but lose more games. For
I
them
think they
to,
could legit be a better actual team and miss the playoffs. I think they could be a better team. Just kind of it happens, it shakes out. They win 9-10 games,
yeah.
they lose a tiebreaker or something and just miss the playoffs because the AFC is so there's so much parity.
I know. I'm not like so like I'm not this is like a I'm probably not going to bet this. Like I don't really feel too strongly either way. I just kind of think they're bound for some sort of regression record-wise because of the schedule. And but again, they did help their offense. Will Campbell is looking great in camp, I've heard. So like, maybe he could be in for a great sophomore year. But I don't know. I'm kind of arguing for the over, but I took the under, so I just think this is like a 9-10 win team, and like even if they win 9 games and they're competitive against those tough teams, like is that really a terrible year with all this stuff going on in the offseason? Like I don't really think so. Like I think that's kind of where they're going to land.
All right, so let's jump to the New York Football Giants at 5.5. That's a pretty low number. I went under personally. Looks like we all went
For
under
the
on five and a
Jets. The
half
Jets.
for the Jets. What did I say?
Giants.
Oh, I said the New York
Football
Football.
Jets.
I thought I said the New York Football Jets, but I must have myself into saying the Giants. Yeah, the Giants, the Jets, the New York Jets, the team, the Geno
We knew
Smith,
Giants.
The green one.
the
Yeah,
team that plays in New Jersey, and Geno Smith is their quarterback. That narrows it down,
That
right?
could also be
kind of.
I
the
know.
Giants
Yeah,
at one
yeah,
point
yeah. At
in
one
time.
point, yeah. So that's
Tyrod Taylor also played there.
that's the point. 5.5 games. I think we all went under on this. Look, Geno Smith. I was once a big time believer. I'll be completely honest. And honestly, like feel like there was reason to believe a couple years ago with his resurgence with the Seahawks. Really bad last year, like wasn't even like competitive. And I think we can all just kind of wipe that memory away from us. But I honestly think the under here for me is more about like Aaron Glenn, honestly, and just this team in general just kind of screams a little bit of dysfunction. It wasn't particularly good last year. They obviously sold at the deadline, and I'm just not a believer. I don't really want to say too much about the Jets. I don't want to waste too much breath, but I'm not a believer in the Jets. Hot take.
Yeah. Under. I think they stink.
I think I was just talking about this right before off air about how I feel like I keep picking like the over for the good teams and the under for the bad teams and how that feels like such a trap. But at the same time, I feel like the NFL has gotten to a point where there's a lot less just like teams being really stupid. And there's a lot less just like
The Jets are
objectively
one of those teams
horrible
that are
teams.
always stupid.
What's that?
The Jets are always a team that's very
Yes,
stupid, you
correct.
know?
Like
Like
I
if it's
think
gonna be
they
a team, it's
have.
gonna be the Jets.
Right. And I think they have like some talent, like some young talent on the team. They have a young, like promising offensive line. They made obviously a bunch of first round draft picks and they have a lot more capital coming down the line. And I think Gino, despite his struggles, is hopefully gonna add some level of stability.
Yeah.
So like there was a point in time in the offseason where I was like maybe talking to myself to like maybe the Jets like can be feisty. But then it just comes down to Aaron Glenn, and then even worse, hiring Frank Reich as the offensive coordinator. It's like it's almost like the ownership is like we have some young talent, but we don't want any chance of actually being good and not having a chance at our like quarterback pick next year. So let's let Aaron Glenn have fun for one more season. Maybe fire him in week eight
Yeah.
and start
Yeah, I was gonna
Cade
say
Klubnik in
Frank
week nine.
Reich Frank
Yeah,
Reich will be a head coach by like week 8, I'm sure.
and he's the dumbest person
Horrible.
of all time.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be terrible.
Frank Reich is the most interim head coach of all time. What even though he's been a real head coach, I will say last thing on the Jets, real quick. It is very interesting that they had Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, and Brees Hall all on the same team, and the one they decided to keep and extend was the running back. All right, so going to the Miami Dolphins now, 4.5. So clear two teams in the division projected less than 6 wins. I went over on the Miami Dolphins for no reason other than that I like them more than the Jets because they are the Dolphins and not the Jets. Here's my thing: the Jets and the Dolphins, one of these two teams is going to go over because of the other team. Like I know they can in theory split the season series. To me, the Dolphins, I could see them sweeping the Jets and just getting to that 5 win total. I don't know. There's real no reason for this. I kind of like Malik Willis. I hate the situation he's in, so it doesn't really matter. 4.5 wins. I went over. I don't know if you guys feel strongly about this one.
I think the Dolphins might have the worst roster in the league.
Yes.
I kind
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
Malik Willis, but like I feel like he's just so set up to fail. I
Yeah.
kind of like the coaching staff, but like I think they just have the worst roster in the league. And like at the end of the day, when you're going to be going into every game outmatched in that way, like I don't know how this offense is really going to move the ball, and I don't think the defense is
Yeah.
particularly good. So I went under.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like as badly as I want to see like Malik Willis like pop and like show
Yeah, me
flashes and
too.
stuff like that, like who is he throwing the ball to? Like Tutu Atwell and
Greg
like
Dulcich, right? Greg
Washington.
Dulcich.
Dolchich is probably going to lead the team in like receiving yards
Targets.
at like 600 yards.
No,
Yeah,
Devin A. Chain. They're gonna like
right.
halfback screen to Devin A. Chain.
Yeah, and then your 170-pound running back's going to die at
Die.
some point.
If he can stay healthy, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't know. I
And they
could
don't have the creativity of McDaniel anymore,
no.
so I,
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
this seems
I'm
bad.
real low on this team. I think this
So am I.
team's
They're gonna be bad.
tanking for Arch.
We are really low on the AFC East. I think we picked like, I mean, it's some of you guys picked overs on the Bills, but we were really low on the AFC East as in general. But that might just be a scheduled thing. All right, let's turn our attention to the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens, 11.5 games. They missed the playoffs a year ago, fired their coach. Jesse Minter is the new head coach. Tim, you're a big Ravens guy. I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm actually this is sort of one of those things again where I'm actually picking the under just because the line is so high, but like I'm gun to my head, I'm saying they're winning 11 games. I think they're going to have a lot of coaching turnover in terms of Minter coming in and Declan Doyle being the offensive coordinator. I think that's going to be definitely an adjustment. I think they have an easier start to their schedule. Like they're playing, like they have to play the Colts this year, but they get them in week one, so it'll be a little bit of, Daniel Jones first game back kind of a little bit early from the injury, and then they get the Saints in week two, and they in week four they have the Titans, week
Yeah, their
five they have the
first seven
Falcons.
games, or they could start 7-0.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
where I have I don't want my bias to come through, but you kind of worry about a new coach and all this turnover starting slow, but the schedule is very much in their favor for the start, which can be helpful, and then they definitely have a hard schedule for the rest of the way. Um, but I think this is an 11 win team, so I picked the under kind of just because 11 and a half is a lot of wins.
Yeah.
But I'm very confident. I feel very good about the Ravens this year. I don't want that to be a negative slant.
Zach.
I am very, very high on the Ravens this year. Like, I'm not gonna get too far into it because I'm sure we'll touch on it maybe on another episode. But I could see the Ravens going very deep in the playoffs. I actually think Minter has a lot of potential. I think he has been given a really good roster. I mean, they haven't had a really like crazy offseason, like other than really getting Hendrickson. But I feel like he could kind of be a missing piece in that defense that they've kind of struggled within the past there. So I don't know. I think with the schedule, like I said, their first 7 games are like more than winnable to the fact that I think the hardest team they would play would be like hosting Cincinnati, which is always a tough game, but like no one would be surprised if they beat Cincinnati at home, especially if they're, as high as I think they can be. So I'm very high on the Ravens this year. I think Minter has the potential to be a very strong upgrade over John Harbaugh. So I'm very high in the Ravens. And I could definitely see them winning. There's always a team that wins 13 games in a conference. I could see them winning at least 13 games. Honestly, like I'm pretty confident about that.
I think it'll come
Yeah.
down to the AFC North. Sorry to interrupt. They've got four AFC North games right down the stretch, I think. So
Right.
what happens with the Steelers, Bengals, the Browns, I don't have confidence in. But
Yeah.
I also just think with the coaching change, they had Harbaugh for so long and Todd Monken, just a lot of just older coaches where like they were
Right.
solid. But I think there's a lot of opportunity to actually have some like creative like tip of the spear coaching that the Ravens just have not had between Doyle and Minter that might add some more, variance where maybe the floor isn't as high because new is not always better, but um, I think their ceiling as a team is higher than it's been from a coaching perspective, for sure.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say in this, Zach, earlier you said Joe Brady might have the best setup for a new coach. I think Jesse Minter might, and you said because Joe Brady might have it because of Josh Allen. I think Jesse Minter might have it because of Lamar Jackson. Now he's playing in what's theoretically a tougher division. Although I am really low in the AFC North outside of the Ravens. Like I'm not confident in any of the three teams that are in this division. So I'm going over here because of Lamar, because as you said, Tim, like it's kind of this new era there. And then on top of the fact that like this to me screams a 5-1, 6-0 type of run in the division for the Ravens. We'll jump to the Cincinnati Bengals now, who are slotted just a hair below the Ravens at 10.5 games. Zach, how are we feeling about 10.5 games for Joe Burrow's Bengals?
It's wild that that's their number coming off last year. Um, I went over. I mean, their schedule is so easy. I mean, it is maybe not Patriots last year-esque, but it's pretty close. And this isn't one I'm overly confident with, not because I don't think that they can go over, but more so, and this is kind of, this isn't really a hot take or anything, but like if Joe Burrow can stay healthy for 16 games, 17 games, I think this is one of the most confident overs I have on the slate, just because of the schedule and just because of their offense. They made a big move with Dexter Lawrence in the offseason. They've really not made any huge moves in the past. I think that kind of shows some confidence finally from management to say, okay, like we're starting to recognize the fact that our defense is holding us back. So they're starting to recognize that. I think that if their defense can be slightly better, we saw 2 years ago, like if their defense had just been slightly better, they would have been in the playoffs. If they're marginally better than they were last year, and if Joe Burrow can stay healthy with that schedule, like I think Bengals Ravens comes down to probably the last couple weeks to see who wins the division. I think both of them, if Joe Burrow stays healthy, are 12, 13 win teams. I know that's kind of tough in division, because I also have another over in this division. So I'm probably a little off there. But I do think with that offense, and a new good playmaker on defense and a healthy Joe Burrow, this is one of my most confident overs, but that's asking a lot of the Bengals.
Go
Tim?
for it, Ian.
Well, okay, so I'll hop in here. I mean, I took the under, but honestly, like this is one of those ones kind of similar to the Bills where I was like, I could kind of see it going one way or the other. I could see them hovering 9, 10, 11 wins. But yeah, looking at their schedule, Zach, you make a really good point. This is a preposterously easy schedule, especially considering the fact that
Nuts.
I just said how bad the rest of the AFC North is. It's to me, it's not really even a concern, but it's like, okay, how quick does all this meld? How quick can you fix a defense in an offseason, right? And the answer to that might be pretty darn quick. Um, and yeah, if Joe Burrow's healthy, they're always going to be a good team. Like even the year they had the worst defense in literally like the NFL, they went 9-8 and obviously missed the playoffs because Joe Burrow was just like kept them in games late. So I went under here. But again, I feel like they're hovering between 9, 10, 11 wins.
Yeah, I went over. I think they definitely added the defensive talent. I think the offense just has a super high baseline. I think
Yeah.
the narrative is that the offensive line is really bad, and I think it was much better last year than people realize, and they have even some young talent there now. Um, with Amarius Mims and what is it, Dylan Fairchild. I so with that added defense, that's going to be kind of the question. I picked the over. A big part of that is the schedule, as Zach has already said,
Yep.
playing third place schedule and the AFC South,
Yeah.
or NFC South.
Yeah.
Um, the only question is Burrow health, and
Yep.
then they always get off to a really slow start. So if they just put themselves in a hole again for no reason, and then Burrow is shaky with his health, that's the argument for the under, I think. But
It
if
might
those
be a
things
big,
don't
it
happen,
might be
I
a
don't know how
big,
they far.
yeah, it might be a big Zach Taylor year, like Zach Taylor, what do you made up
Yeah,
kind of year.
I think yeah, I agree.
For
They
sure.
don't win 10 games this year. I think Zach Taylor is like
You'd
Yeah.
think.
hottest seat of
He has the most
Seen
secure.
that for a couple of years.
He was the only AFC North coach to not get fired last year. All right, we're going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, as I just alluded to, have a new coach, Mike McCarthy. Their number is 8.5 wins. I'll leave this off on you. They obviously were the AFC North winner last year. I picked the under on this, felt pretty confident with it. 2 words: Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, big 2026. Zach, you took the over. I want to hear from you.
I mean, I literally went through the schedule 3 times. I had them 9-8 every single time. I mean, that's honestly like that's more my logic than anything. It's just the Steelers and like
Yeah.
they're. I feel
It's
like
not
even
Tomlin.
though
It's not Tomlin anymore,
I
though.
know, but I feel like even though Tom, at least first of all, I've always been higher on McCarthy than others. Like McCarthy, with all the kind of chaos in Dallas, put together like consecutive, really, really good seasons, like 3 or 4 straight years of really consistent football. And obviously, like I don't think his time in Green Bay is respected enough. Like I don't want to say they cut him off unnecessarily, but for Green Bay standards, like I don't think he deserved necessarily to get fired when he did. Because I mean, since that's a whole different thing. But they didn't really do much in the offseason. They add Michael Pittman. They lose Kenneth Gainwell. I think Kenneth Gainwell is a big loss because Rodgers loves throwing to the running backs. Especially with the kind of shaky offensive line that they had last year. But again, like I just feel like this is a 9-win team. I'd like could like I'm not necessarily gonna bet it, but like could they be an 8-win team? Like I guess, but like I don't see them being like a 6-win team. I still think Rodgers is his brain is good enough still to win probably 5 games enough. Like he's still got like he still has
No, I'm just laughing at Aaron Rodgers' really good brain.
Oh,
That's
he's a
good.
smart. He's
Yeah.
smart. He's smart. He can read
He's
defenses and like
his
there's a
dome
floor.
is very advanced.
There's a floor to that. Like there is a
Yeah.
floor to that, you know. And he has another
Philip
playmaker
Rivers.
receiver, Philip Rivers. Well, I mean, everyone knows Rivers is better than Rodgers, but yeah, I think there's a floor with the Steelers. I also think there's a ceiling, and I think the floor and the ceiling are all within 2 games of each other. So I think they're either an 8-9 team or a 9-8 team.
Yeah, I kind of think the defense is going to be really good. I just think they're capped with the Rodgers McCarthy of it all. I think they're just going to be a team that's going to be in it for most of the season. They're going to win some random games that they probably shouldn't win and lose some really stupid games. Looking at their schedule, like one pass at it, I kind of also end up at 9-8. But the way I just feel about them is they're going to be, in the wild card race come week 15, 16 or whatever, and then in the big games, they're just not going to have the firepower to do it. And I think they're a 7-8 win team, which is a pretty high floor. I don't think they have the Tomlin dark magic to somehow get to 9 wins like they used.
You ever heard of
Yeah.
Big Mike? Big Mike Black Magic?
Dude, you know what? His career with the Cowboys what was it 12 and 5 3 years in a row or something like
Yeah,
that.
like four
Yeah.
consecutive. Yeah,
And then yeah, was it 4 years in a row?
I
And
think
then
it
it
just
just
the
needs
whole thing
that.
has just gotten stale and they're 1 year past of being stale and
yeah.
it's gonna peter out.
I the fact that like they haven't picked a quarterback high in the last 2 years is like one of the most head scratching. Like I don't know, maybe it just hasn't worked out that way, but it whatever. Um, Cleveland Browns 5.5 wins. We all picked the under. So let's talk about who should start for the Cleveland Browns at quarterback. Zach, who should
Honestly,
start?
we might as well because what's there really to say?
There's nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to say. Throw Shador out there. I don't know. Like, if nothing else, like he showed more than Dylan Gabriel did last year. And it's not saying much, but like if you throw Dylan Gabriel out there, you're in a sense kind of giving up on Shador. I guess it's the Browns, so not really. But like you might as well just see what he has. I'm not the biggest Shador guy in the world, but I think that if you're the Browns and you lost your franchise player, I'm talking more on a franchise level. Like literally the only thing that can get the fans excited right now is to see Shador. And I think that his upside is way higher than Dylan Gabriel's. So throw him out there. What do you have to give nothing to lose? I just think, yeah, throw him out there. I mean, I think the Watson trade didn't work. I think we can all kind of just put that to bed. I don't see any point of playing Deshaun Watson at all from a franchise level.
The only
And
reason I see a reason for Watson is just so you can like have him be the
Justify the money.
sacrificial lamb and
Yeah.
then put in Shador. But if you start Shador and then you lose 4 games, you start off 0-4, which you're probably going to like regardless.
yeah,
Then it's sort of just like, okay, well now we just like have to make a change, and then you don't see Shador the rest of the season. But if you start out 0-4 with Watson, you can bench Watson, then you can just kind of like ride it out with Shador. I just simply I think they have some fun talent on defense. The offensive line got completely reshuffled. It like could be good like on paper. It could be decent on paper. But I just have no idea with the quarterback play how you can find 6 wins. I
E-
don't know.
What's
Schwessinger's
interesting?
done. I forgot
Yeah,
about
Schlesinger,
him.
Verse, they have talent
Verse,
on defense.
Jared
It's
I
Verse,
was just
yeah.
saying, what's interesting is that they actually have a really easy schedule. Like as we said, like this the AFC North is like has a pretty easy schedule, and of course they have a last place schedule. So it's like this kind of funny enough, like there's a path. But yeah, without I literally like this is one of the worst quarterback rooms in recent memory. And like when we're really talking about like Shador Sanders is like the guy, he was like no disrespect to Shador. He was bad last year. Like he was not good last year. And we're like, maybe Shador Sanders is the guy. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Put Taylor Green in there. See what the Arkansas product can do.
do we see Taylor Green start a game?
Yes. Because I think Dylan Gabriel gets cut or traded at the end of preseason. I think Deshaun Watson isn't going to work out, and I mean maybe Shador is good enough for to start the rest of the way. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
I kind
shocked
of
if
see
we get a
that. I
Taylor
kind of
Green
see
game.
the
There's
start
a path.
Watson 3 games, and it's like how I don't know how we can keep doing this. Start Shador, and it doesn't go well for like 10 games, and then they just
Yeah.
kind of like do whatever is left on the roster for whatever they want to do the rest of the. I have I honestly have no idea how the line is 5.5.
I don't either. It's an easy schedule. I think it's just an easy
I just
schedule.
like quickly went through their schedule, just like
Well, because
picking games,
they always
feeling
win a
like I was being
stupid game
pretty
against the
generous and ended
Bengals or
at 4.
something.
Like I just have no idea how you get to 6.
Right. No, Tim, I did the same thing because I looked at it and I was like, okay, I can see them beating the Giants. I can see them beating the Jets. I can see them splitting with like the Bengals. But it's like there's maybe beating the
Titans.
Raiders. Like I can get to like 4 or 5 wins, but to six is that's a stretch. Um, all right, let's go to the AFC South. The defending AFC South champions, we'll start with them, the Jacksonville Jaguars, coached by Liam Cohen, coming off a career year for Trevor Lawrence. 8.5 is the number, and I think we all took the over. Yeah, we all
Yeah.
took the over. And Tim, I agree with you. I see you wrote 13 next to them. I think way over. I'm agreeing with you, way over for the Jags. What's the case there?
With the Texans and the Jags, I'm honestly very confused as to how neither of them are. The Jags only have to get to 9, and the Texans only have to get to 10 to hit both of their overs. And I think I
Mhm.
feel pretty confident about both of those.
Yeah.
To be honest, I am honestly a little confused as to why those are so low. I think is this division is the Jags and the Texans, and it's a little bit of a coin flip. I think I lean Texans. Um, but I think it's very easy to see them win 9 games. I think this is a very good team. I think we saw the career year from Lawrence. I think they have really good coaching both on both sides of the ball. I think we've talked about before about maybe they're missing some like star power, which is why maybe I'm leaning the Texans a little bit, but I don't know. I think this is a good team with really good coaching, good quarterback play, and it's a high floor team, and I see 9 wins.
Yeah,
At least
I obviously I
I
talked
think their
about how much.
ceiling's up to 13. And I wanted to say they're a regression candidate because they won so many games last year, but it's all still in front of them.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Tim. Obviously, last 2 weeks ago, I talked about Jags potentially being my pick to win the Super Bowl or to get to the Super Bowl. I thought they were maybe the best team in the AFC last year. Obviously, had kind of an easy schedule down the stretch, and then that playoff inexperience kind of reared its ugly heads against the Bills. Josh Allen kind of coming out and then Trey White with the pick. But nonetheless, I agree with you, Tim. I think Liam Cohen had a really good rookie year. I think Trevor Lawrence, like you saw, like he the fruits of his labor, so to speak, kind of paying off there. And that the one case against them, I would say, is like I could see them going. I mean, not admittedly, this is a really low number. That's part of the reason why I feel so confident in this, as you mentioned, Tim. But it depends on how you feel about the Colts, and it depends on how you feel about the Titans. Otherwise, it's like it is kind of a tough schedule. Like, admittedly, it's not like it's a first place schedule, as you mentioned. It's not the easiest schedule. And then honestly, if you like, if you're a believer in the Colts and the Titans, I could see them getting close. But I still think 8.5 is so low. So I'm going over.
I also think the Jags, I think like Texans, you're probably looking at a split. Like maybe
Yeah.
the Texans could sweep in 2 close games. Um, I'm pretty sure the Jags have one of those weird like inter-division things where they just like always beat the Colts too.
You can look that up.
You guys remember that? But there was, I
Yeah, there's like
remember
a weird
like
thing. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like remember when they were really bad and Wentz was the
Wentz.
Colts starter and they just
Yeah,
needed to beat this bad Jags team. They lost to
yeah.
the Jets and missed the playoffs. Like I think there's like one of those weird division team like there's something weird things in some divisions where it's like no matter what, like this team just always finds a way to like be the thorn in this team's side. And now they're just legit better than the Colts.
Right.
Since
So I
20,
picked them to sweep the
yeah,
Colts.
since 2022. Since 2022, the Colts are 2-7. It looks like against the
And
Jags.
some of those Jags teams were not very good, if I remember
Right.
correctly. I think there's
No,
some
Yeah.
crazy stat
terrible.
about how like the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in like a crazy amount of time or something.
Yeah, and it looks
Yeah.
like one of those wins. It looks like one of those wins came in week 18. And I'm not going to say for
Well,
sure, but I wouldn't be
that was the
shocked.
Wentz year, wasn't it?
No, it was 2025. I know what you're talking because that was the Jags beat the Colts that year. 'Cause that
Oh,
was the
okay.
year Wentz
Oh,
Wentz
you're right.
lost in week 18.
You're right. Yeah.
But they lost. Didn't they lose to the Titans? Wasn't no, because who did the Titans, like it was like Mike Vrabel started like Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry in his last coach as Titans coach, and maybe he was playing the Texans. I don't remember if that was the same game, but so it's Jags. We're all going over. I guess Tim, you mentioned we'll go to the Texans. They're at 9.5, and it looks like once again we are all going over on that. You kind of already gave the case, Tim, but I'll bat lead off on this. Look, that defense is preposterously good. It was preposterously good last year, and I think they're going to get even better. And like CJ Stroud was sort of like the regression last year, like the regression to the means. The interception numbers went up like crazy from his rookie year, yeah, from his first 2 years to his third year. Um, but the thing is, like, they were still winning games with Davis Mills. Like, that's how good that defense is. Like, we saw the Bills Texans game last year, and it was like literally like the Bills. It looked like they were a JV offense compared to the Texans. Kind of a lot of what we talked about. 9.5 just feels really low for a team that, to me, is just kind of like scratching the surface of how good they can be.
Yeah. I honestly like I was very, very surprised to see the numbers for the Texans and Jags. Like it's really weird for the Jags especially to be that low. But the Texans too. I think people are kind of sleeping, not necessarily on the division, but like on those two teams in particular. Um, if I'm not mistaken, Tank Dell is coming back like early-ish this year, if not like starting the season. And I think he's a really good deep ball threat that Stroud hasn't really had. Obviously, Nico can do it all, but a really vertical over the top threat. I think Tank Dell is fantastic. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't they didn't have Mixon last year, so it's not like they're necessarily losing that. I think he only played a couple games, if that. Defense is fantastic, and I think that that division is kind of up for grabs between those two. I think the Colts and the Titans are very feastable teams. And again, I think with that defense, you only have, as low of a floor as probably 7 wins. And I think CJ Stroud really cannot. I mean, he didn't play terrible. I think he gets a bad rap. Like he wasn't
I
brutal
think
all
it's
year
overblown a little
long.
bit too, because it was what you saw last, and he got hurt a little bit last year, and
The playoffs, he was terrible for
yeah,
sure. But I do think he'll be better. And yeah, I think with that defense, I don't think that this is like a outrageously like 13, 14 win team, but like I can see them winning 10 rather easily with that defense. And I do think Tank Dell is going to add some pop. I was really high on him when he was healthy. So I can see him adding some pop back to that offense and I could see them quite easily winning 10 games. I'm fairly confident about that.
yeah. I just think the defense is awesome, and that just gives you such a high baseline. And then the offensive line's a little bit more solidified. They kind of know who their guys are coming into it, rather than just like revolving door of trying to find five starters. Um, and I think David Montgomery coming in is gonna also keep him on schedule a little bit more versus, Woody Marks kind of running into the back of his offensive lineman for 2 yards. Those turns into 3 or 4 yards, and keeping that just needs to be on schedule. And the defense is so good that I think they'll walk into 10 wins.
Yeah. We'll keep going with the AFC South. The Indianapolis Colts, 7.5. Very hot start last year in Shane Steichen's second year. Obviously, Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. They go through every quarterback. Philip Rivers starts a couple games for them late. 7.5 is the number. I'm going over here, but it's not a super confident no. I mean, I'm confident that they're going to get to like 8 and 9, 8 or 9 wins. I'm not expecting 10 or 11 wins, but I think like there's still the bones of a good team there. Like I think we saw them last year. Like there's still the bones of a decent team, a really good running attack. Like Daniel Jones, when like he is sort of in this setting where he's like we saw it with the Brian Dable year when they went to the playoffs. Like Daniel Jones, when he's put in a situation where his main goal is to be a runner can be really good or very successful. I guess the fear would be, hey, Jonathan Taylor, another, no, some more tread on the tires. And more specifically, this is a really tough division, as we alluded to, because we'll get to the Titans, but I think the Titans will obviously be a lot better than they were last year. So the fear would be, hey, look, they're in a really tough division. Daniel Jones actually coming back from a torn Achilles. It does look like though he's a full participant in
Yeah.
training camp right now. Like it looks like he's going to start week 1, which is huge. Like just the raising their floor of going from and I loved Philip Rivers. I think he was like actually kind of a fun story last year, but like raising your floor from literally pulling a 40-year-old off the couch to playing a guy who I think fits Shane Steichen's scheme pretty well. That's why I'm going over here 7.5. I honestly think like this could be a team down the stretch. We're looking like, oh right, they can make the playoffs. They could squeak in at 9-8.
Yeah, I see them. I really wanted to be higher on the Colts because I still think that offensive infrastructure is there. And now on defense, they're going to have a full season to Sauce Gardner rather than him just sort of coming in at
Right.
the end. Um, I really worry about how this team starts off. Daniel Jones, the rust and injury stuff. And they got a pretty hard start. They go Ravens, Chiefs, Texans. They get the Commanders, who I'm a little bit lower on, but they play in London, so that's always kind of
Right.
weird.
And then Steelers
Um,
on the road.
the Steelers on the road, and it's the Steelers. This is kind of getting into like minute details, but they're coming off. The Steelers are going to be coming off playing the Browns on Thursday night, so the Colts are going to have a super big travel week coming back from Commanders, and the Steelers are going to be playing at home off of extra rest. And if Daniel Jones doesn't start like playing up to the standards right away, this could very easily start 0-5, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
then your season's already
Yeah.
shot. I could see them starting off really slow and then sort of figuring things out, and then it's sort of like, oh, they got a win streak going towards the end of the year, and it's like the Colts might not make the playoffs, but you don't want to play them, and then all of a sudden they just kind of peter off at the end or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And if they have that sort of season again and they go 8-9, Steichen, it's just really hard to keep justifying keeping him around,
Yeah.
even though I think he's a pretty good coach. So I went under because I'm really worried about this start.
Yeah.
Before you hop in, Zach, I do want to correct myself. It is Shane Steichen's fourth year, as you mentioned, Tim. He last year was a third year, 9-8, 8-9, 8-9 to 3 years. So yeah, Tim, if they get off to a slow start, he might be quick to go. But Zach, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm Tim. We're pretty much aligned here. Like their opening schedule is very tough, and Daniel Jones has had some. I mean, for his age, he's had a lot of injuries. He's had multiple concussions. He's had a torn ACL. He's had a torn Achilles. Um, and he's coming back now off of this injury with that schedule to start. I think Jonathan Taylor got I mean, he got so many reps last year. Um, and I think over the years, the tread is, I mean, the tread, it's not showing, but like at some point, there has to be some form of regression. His year last year was fantastic, and I think he was in MVP talks pretty much. I mean, they started the year 7-1, I believe, and he was really the core piece of that. It's not like Daniel Jones was lighting the world on fire. I mean, he's playing well, but I do. They lose Pittman. I just see an overall regression here. Tim, like you said, like I can see them getting hot in the middle of the year. Daniel Jones gets a little more comfortable. But as Ian kind of said, like his legs sometimes can be his biggest weapon. And if he's losing that, like if
Yeah.
he loses that little ounce of mobility, he's already had some lower body injuries. I do think that there's going to be some regression here, and I think, I don't think they're going to be terrible, but I do think, 6 or 7 wins is well in their wheelhouse for next year.
I just think
Yeah.
it's an uphill battle for them. I think last year was the year and they got screwed.
Yeah. We'll go to the Titans. We'll make it quick. 6.5 for the Tennessee Titans. Robert Saleh's first year, Cam Ward's second year. You guys went under. I went over. Honestly, the reason I'm going over here, and it's not like, I mean, I guess I went over it for everyone in the AFC South and under for everything in the AFC East minus the Dolphins. But honestly, the reason I'm going over here is just because like the floor raising for them going from Callahan and McCoy to to Robert Saleh. Like Robert Saleh he's a great defensive coach, like not just with the Jets, obviously with the 49ers. And I really do love Cam Ward. I really think Cam Ward's a good quarterback. I think, I would hope at least under Brian Dable, there's at least like a little bit more stability there. He's able to learn. Like there were some plays last year you genuinely are like, how the heck is he doing this? Now, that doesn't always translate to a good quarterback fully like we can all admit that. Like there's plays Will Levis made. We're like, oh, how do you do that? Whatever. But Will Levis and Cam Ward are not the same guy by any means. I really do believe in Cam Ward. I hope this is the year he takes. I'm not going to say like a major step, but I think, we could come out of 2020, 2026, 2027 and be like, oh wow, Cam Ward, like that's a guy. Like that's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So that's why I go over here. But as I said, like as we've kind of talked about in the entire AFC South, it's a really tough division. in general, and the schedule is not favorable for the Titans. That's for sure. But still, I'm going over because of the floor raising and because I like Cam Ward.
Yeah, I don't know. I I think 6.5 just seemed high, kind of for their over under. Like, I get they got Salah and Dable. I'm not like, I mean, I it's the fact that Salah and Dable were both like ran out of New York and like very like it's not like it was like a soft kind of like they went down in flames kind of. Um, I don't really understand why now it's like, oh well, here's Salah and Dable, like here, they're gonna save the day in Tennessee. Like I don't really see that at all. Like they had a lot of flaws in what do you got?
Well, I don't disagree that they had a lot of flaws, but Robert Sala's like his best quarterback was
Aaron Rodgers.
for a game, like right, like who
A
was
month.
his quarter like outside of like Zach Wilson, right? Like Zach Wilson, like
Yeah, well,
and admittedly, I'm not sitting here to be like Robert Saleh didn't have flaws. I'm not pretending like he's gonna be the greatest coach of all time.
no, I
I
know,
don't
yeah.
think that, but like I understand why the Jets struggled. Their defense was always amazing. Now you could argue, okay, look,
Yeah.
their defense was ridiculous under
Yeah.
Robert
No,
Saleh,
yeah, yeah. It was
and
good. It was
there's
good.
there's
The second
admittedly
year
like
under,
you could
yeah.
criticize him. You could criticize him for not playing around. I'm not going to say like playing around a quarterback, but like finding better opportunities or working with your offense. Like Mike LaFleur was his OC. I think what for the first year there. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, just like it's one of those things that you can criticize Robert Saleh. Like I'm not saying you can't, but I just think he was dealt a bad hand. Now Dable, I'm not the highest on Dable, but I think he obviously has a track record of doing very well with young quarterbacks who are
Yeah.
have physical traits, or who are more known for like the raw physical traits than they are for like the intelligent. Not that Cam Ward isn't a smart quarterback. He is. He's probably ahead of where Josh Allen was his rookie year, almost certainly, but. Nevertheless, Tim, unless you got something crazy, we'll move to the AFC West.
Yeah, just real quick. I think the Titans last year were an unserious football team, and for all their flaws, I think Dable and Salah will come in and make them a serious football team, but that doesn't necessarily equate to wins. I think they're gonna really
Sure.
raise the floor, and then it's gonna be like, oh, the Titans aren't just a pushover this week, but I don't really see them getting more than 4 or 5 wins. But they'll actually be an actual football team.
Fair enough. We'll go to the AFC North. The Denver Broncos, 9.5.
Last.
They were
Right.
a Bo Nix. They were a Bo Nix injury away from going to the Super Bowl. 9.5. I think we all have under here. Is that? Yeah, I think we all have under here. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, like just the regression. Like we just kind of all talked about like the regression of hey, look, the Chiefs are going to be better, the Raiders are going to be better, the Chargers will be about the same, and you never know what's going to happen with Bo Nix in terms of his injury. I should, you know,
Yeah, that's kind of like I took the under, obviously. Like I think I is it like weird that I'm kind of concerned not only about Bo Nix's kind of injury, that whole thing was so weird to me. Like how I've never I don't know, like for the coach to just come out in the press conference and say like, oh yeah, like he's done for the year. We're going to the AFC Championship, like he's done. And then obviously Nix comes out and he, kind of goes at Peyton a little bit. Um, it just seemed kind of weird to me. Like I don't think they're going to be bad by any means. I think they have a top five roster in the league, maybe. Definitely top 10 for sure. And I think their defense is fantastic. They add Jalen Waddle. I don't know. I think that division's going to be more competitive than it was last year for sure. And I do kind of worry about Bo Nix and his health. He had some injuries in college. Like this is kind of his first like injury in the NFL. Like I guess real injury. But it just kind of seemed weird to me. They just seem a little off to me. I don't really see Waddle fitting in perfectly into like kind of like a Sean Payton offense. He's kind of unique in the sense, like we didn't really see anyone like that in New Orleans, like a really like a speedster over the middle. So I took the under, but I think it's a really soft under. I'm not overly confident with it. I just know that that division's going to be a lot tighter than it was last year, a lot more competitive, I should say. and I think naturally they got to regress a little bit. I'm not overly confident with it, but I can see them winning probably 9 games. That's kind of my pick for them.
I will just hop in here real quick before you go, Tim. It does look like, according to camp, Bo Nix has no health limitations as it stands today. So like, not to say, whatever. I just want to clarify, like, he
Yeah,
technically is completely cleared
he's
to
fine
to
now.
play
Yeah,
week one. Yeah, he's fine week one. Tim?
Yeah, I took the under, but I don't really necessarily feel super confident about it. I know we kind of talked about their potential
Yeah.
regression. I still think they just have a pretty high baseline. I think the defense is going to be
Yeah.
good. I think they lost Jim Leonard, which is interesting. They lost John Franklin Myers, which is interesting. So maybe the defense comes down a little bit. I think Waddle kind of evens that out a little. I think this is around a 8 to 10 win team. So I kind of just took the under, but I think they're right around. I don't have a strong take like, oh, I'm hammering the under. Um,
Right.
so I took the under, but I think this is a, maybe 9 or 10 win team.
Yeah, we talked a lot more about this a couple weeks ago when we did like our hot
Yeah.
takes. So more in depth there. But yeah, I agree with you, Tim. It's not one of those ones I'm like, I think regression, but they could still be pretty darn good.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
go to the Chargers, 9.5 as well. Tim, I'll start with you. I think you went over on this.
Yeah, I went over. I think the Chargers offense is going to be really good with McDaniel, the Herbert pairing. I think they're going to
Hmm.
start out hot. We normally see that with a McDaniel team, and I think that's going to help propel them moving forward. I think the defense is going to take a hit with no Minter anymore. But the name's escaping me. The guy who's coming up under him as a defensive coordinator is kind of a disciple of Minter, so you hope to sort of keep some of the structure in place. I'm pretty high on the Chargers. I think we're really going to see this offense open up. It's going to come down to a classic Chargers, like can they stay healthy? Can the offensive line not implode and die of 9,000 injuries in
Yeah.
week two? But um, kind of say it every year, like, oh, it looks good. So I'm leaning that way, and um, I think last year they showed that they can fight through some injuries and they're going to have a lot more creativity on offense, which I think is going to be exciting. So I'm leaning over for the Chargers.
Chris O'Leary is the new D
Yes.
coordinator that you were alluding to, Tim. Yeah,
Not
I
to be
went out.
mistaken with Nick O'Leary, by the way.
Yes.
Jack Nicholas's grandson?
Correct. Yeah, grandson or nephew, something like that.
Grandnephew.
There you go.
Grandnephew.
Yeah.
No
Um, I,
gloves.
I I think we all went over on this. Tim, you make a really good point. I don't know. I'm a huge Mike McDaniel guy. Not like I wasn't shocked when he got fired by the Dolphins just because of the results. Like it's a results based business, but I think he's a ridiculously good play caller. I think he's like well ahead of his time. Obviously coming from that Shanahan tree, so I'll always be a Mike McDaniel guy. I think him. It's funny. It's really funny because like Harbaugh came in and it was like, it's like, oh, we're gonna um, unlock Herbert, and then people like Harbaugh runs the ball, and then they ran the ball a million times his first year, and now it's like, okay, Mike McDaniel's coming. They're going to unlock Herbert. Mike McDaniel runs the ball like
Yeah.
he technically came up as a run game corner, like he's a run guy.
Right.
Now that's not for me, and I'm not sitting here like Justin Herbert and like bet his unders. I'm actually saying the opposite. I think this is going to be like a perfect marriage, where they kind of figure it out together to a certain extent. Like he's going to be able to have the pass game and the run game just work effectively together. And as you mentioned, obviously that Jesse Minter kind of laid the groundwork. I think the
Slater and
over.
Alt, by the way, they have Slater and
Yeah,
Alt now healthy, and
yeah,
they add Keaton Mitchell, running back, who I know Tim loves, and I also love.
Yeah.
So their running back,
That's a
they have a
nice
deep
guy.
running back room, very
Love it.
versatile running back room, and now a really solid, I think, offensive line. I want to say two studs on the offensive line. So yeah, I'm also taking the not. I didn't mean to cut you off necessarily, but I
no,
did.
you're good.
I'm confident in the over here. I'm very confident in the over here, especially with Mike McDaniel and that run game, and now a more solid offensive line. I think they could be so fun to watch this year.
Um, Sneak peek, Justin Herbert MVP. All right, Raiders 5.5 games. I'm going under here. They are going to start Kirk Cousins. They're not planning on winning. They're not. They have no plans of winning this year. So I'm going under. And it's a tough division. It's a really tough division. I mean, yes, I think they got better because it's kind of a similar take to the Titans one, where like, hey, I actually think Pete Carroll's a good coach, but I think obviously maybe not in 2026, and then Geno going from
Yeah.
Geno Smith to whatever. But you know, as Tim kind of alluded to with the Titans, like, look, they're going to be a serious team, but it's not going to equate to wins. They have no plans of winning this year. I'm going under.
Yeah, I'm excited for Kubiak. I'm excited to see Mendoza at some point. I just think they're going to be out talented. I think the defense is going to be really bad. I just can't find the wins in the schedule to go over.
Zach,
Kind
you
I'm
of as
picked the
simple
over.
as that.
yeah, I did. I mean, I kind of I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like I think they're sneaky. I think Kubiak is a huge upgrade at
Yes,
head coach. I think he's a huge upgrade, and
maybe
I
the
also
biggest coaching upgrade in the league because
definitely an
how
argument.
bad Carroll was.
Definitely an argument there. And I also think that like if Kirk Cousins start, which he's going to start, I think Kirk Cousins is maybe not like a huge upgraded quarterback. I'm very low on Geno. I think he's a very solid upgrade over Geno. And I mean, they were so bad last year. Their defense was their O-line was so bad. But I think Kubiak really got the most out of the running backs in Seattle. I think now he's given Ashton Genty, who obviously had a really rough start. I don't think a lot. I mean, he was being hit 2 yards behind line of scrimmage like every single play. So like, how good are you going to be? But I think Kubiak can draw up some schemes to get him loose in space and stuff like that. I think Cousins is competent enough to move the ball a little bit. So I think under is probably the smart play. But I can see them winning 6 games. Like they always play the Chiefs tough. I'm not necessarily going to say they're going to like split with the Chiefs. They might. I think they're gonna. But I do think that they
Wow.
have. I do think that they have enough. At least I do think that they have enough offensive talent there. They made some upgrades, especially on the offensive side. So I do think that there's going to be some progress there. They're going to be able to move the ball, and I'm planting my flag. Let's go 7 wins for the Raiders.
So I will say the path to me is like similar to the 49ers when Jimmy Garoppolo came in, where it was like they were winless or like had one win, and then all of a sudden like they just put in a real quarterback and then couldn't stop winning.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying Fernando Mendoza is going to be like amazing year one. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, it's not like the whatever, it's not like the bar is that high. But like I could see him coming in week 12. He's got the Browns, then a bye week, Chargers, which is a tough game, Broncos, tough game, but then Titans, Cardinals, and then Chiefs. So like I could see them stealing three of those games, and then okay, all of a sudden we look around and oh, they have 6 or 7 wins. But again, I don't think they have any plan to even compete. But nevertheless, we will
The
end
only
with
thing
the
I want to say one quick thing about the Raiders with Kubiak. I'm really excited for him. I think he's a good coach. I think a little bit with the whole Seahawks of it all. He had the like at
Yeah.
worst the second best defense in the league with the Texans being up there, maybe probably the best defense in the league. And the Seahawks offense was really good and it like was a huge upgrade. They had a lot of explosive plays, which played a lot into it. But if you like dive into like a lot of the stats that I've been seeing in the offseason, the Seahawks offense was like good. It wasn't like they were lighting it up every week. Like I think you saw a lot of like the
right.
schemed like stuff where JSN gets open down the field and it's like, oh, that's so creative and everything. Like Kubiak's
Yeah.
awesome. It was a little bit of like you expected them to be like really average, and then they were like top 10 ish. They were like depending on what metrics you look at, like 8 to 12th or something. So I don't think the Raiders are just going to jump up there either with worse talent. Um,
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know. I think there's in the back of my mind a little bit of hesitancy on Kubiak, just a tiny bit.
Yeah, I think I agree with Tim to an extent. It's like he was sort of the easy hire, so to speak, of this cycle, and I think we it's pretty easy to fall in love with guys like that. But you got to look under the hood a little bit. Not criticizing him at all, but we'll finish off with the Kansas City Chiefs. They won 2 Super Bowls in a row, then lost the Super Bowl, and then they
Are they
sucked
dead?
last year. Now they're dead. No. Obviously, Pat Mahomes very much injured for most of last season, although they weren't particularly great before his injury. And then um, Looks like he'll be healthy to potentially start this season. 10.5. I think I love the over. I think I love
I
the
took
over.
the under, but I almost want to switch it to the over. The Chiefs lost a lot of one-score games last year, which is not something you typically think of with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They had the young defensive talent. I think Kenneth Walker's going to be really good. I think he's extremely talented, and they had just zero run game whatsoever and zero explosive plays from that. And Kenneth Walker is an explosive play waiting to happen. I think just some more volatility to the offense is going to go a long way. And I think we're probably going to get to midseason again, and it's once again going to be okay. I don't really want to see the Chiefs this week, where I think they're going to
Yeah.
be good. So I took the under because the line is 10.5, which is of course sort of seemed high with your quarterback coming off of ACL.
Right.
So I took the under, but it's like I think they're going to win 10 games.
Yeah. That's
I
when I
I,
did.
I almost want to take the over because I feel pretty good about them.
I did, yeah, I did the same thing. Like I did, well, I went through the schedule and I ended up at 10.
That's what
Um,
I had
yeah,
too.
so I'm not confident about this at all. I think Kenneth Walker is huge. I think he's
I think he's
one of the more impactful offseason acquisitions just because, not well, just because, but Mahomes coming off that injury. The ability to finally run the ball for the Chiefs consistently. I think if once you get Kenneth Walker downhill, I think he's a force. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league, especially at running back. Um, I think their schedule's tough. They got some really tough games. Obviously, the division's going to be tough. Chargers are going to be better. Um, have you seen Travis Kelce at camp?
not really. See,
He looks very much his age and out of shape.
So,
So
Zach, I don't know if this is what you're referring to. There was an AI video of him that went viral. I
I
don't know if
saw
that's
that
what you're
one.
referring to.
No, I saw that one, but no, I actually saw like a real picture of him, like a couple of real pictures and
I think he
videos
looked
of him.
fine, but
He no, he
nevertheless.
he looks. He's
Well,
been taking retirement for a couple of years now. I
I was
think
gonna
once he
say it's not like he's been like in the best. It's not like he's been like the greatest
no,
tight end, the best tight end in the league
I
last
don't
couple of years.
think.
But
Yeah, I don't think he's going to help him out this year. So I took the under. I don't think that like Kelsey's going to have this huge year. Rashee Rice always like starts the year great. If he can stay healthy, I think he can be great. He can be their number one receiver for sure. But other than that, I mean, really, who you throwing the ball to? Xavier Worthy is kind of like a explosive guy with some speed. If you can get him in space and stuff like
right.
that. I think Walker's a big upgrade at running back, but like I think I don't think they're dead, but like I don't think they're going to win more than I don't think they're winning 11 or 12 games. I think 10 is more than reasonable, so I'm going soft under and I'm probably not going to bet 10.5.
Um. So obviously I took the over as I said. I love the over. Patrick Mahomes as a starter since 2018. 12 and 4, 11 and 3, 14 and 1, 12 and 5, 14 and 3, 10 and 6, 15 and 1, and then 6 and 8 last year. Now, obviously very much injured. Well, practicing and ideally he'll be back. That concerns me, right? I think to me, like that concerns me. And Zach, you make a good point. It's like, okay, he wasn't really throwing to anyone last year. He's not gonna really be throwing to anyone this year. He had a career low in completion percentage last year, at 62.7. Like it didn't look like the Pat Mahomes of yesteryear. Which is a tad bit concerning, but to me, like he's still the best. He's the best quarterback in the league, I think, until anyone takes it away from him. And I don't think anyone really has yet. So to me, honestly, this is more of a Patrick Mahomes belief. I think the Chiefs will be back. I understand, like they were bad before he was hurt. It wasn't like they were bad because he was hurt. No, they were bad before he was hurt. But um, I just can't. I can't pick against. I can't
It's
pick.
never a bad take. Taking the over in
It's
the Chiefs is never a bad pick.
like
Like I could,
I've seen
you
it
know,
too many times. I've seen, like I know we actually like we've written them off a million times and it works. Like we actually they I'm not gonna write them off. I'm not gonna write the Chiefs off. Like they went 10-6 and then won the Super Bowl two
yeah.
years ago. Like even if they do go 10-7 this year, like you don't want to see them in the playoffs. Like that's the last team you want to see in the playoffs, right? So well, that is
Yeah.
a wrap. Unless anyone has anything super.
I want a closing thought I want to put out there on the
Sure.
record. I'm changing my Ravens pick to over. I didn't want my bias to show through, but the more I've looked at the schedule, I think it sets up too well.
So that's what you've been doing.
Sets up too well.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm switching
All
my
right.
Ravens.
Well, that is a wrap on the episode 47, otherwise known as the John Lynch episode. Thank you for joining us. We will see you again for the for episode number 48 next week, otherwise known as the Jacob DeGrom
Oh, good one.
episode. There's not many, I'll be honest. Nas, I
Patrick
think of the
Colbasso,
I
48.
got a lot of
wow.
Philadelphia Flyers.
Give us one, Zach. Can you think of a
Current
single
GM
one?
Danny Briere, Morgan Frost. Um,
There's
uh,
two. There's only two NBA players to ever wear number 48, according to NBA reference or basketball reference.
I
I
read
saw
that
this
Walt
together.
stat.
Walt Gilmore for one season for the Portland Trailblazers,
Oh, who
averaged
else?
2 points per game. Who can forget 1971? And then Naz Mohammed, Chicago Bulls 2013 to 2015. And he
I like
played 18 years in the league. Holy wow.
Whoa.
I did not realize he played 18 years in the
Shout
league.
out Nas.
that.
Got his career started in 80. So got his career started in 1998, played until 2016. Wow. Well, so the Nas, I think is it Nazir Muhammad? Is Nazr whatever or Nazi Muhammad?
Oh,
That's how you pronounce it. Nazi Muhammad. I was
like I
pronouncing
kind
it
of like
incorrectly.
remember seeing that name on like a random.
Yes, I remember seeing him in 2K and being like, wow, like he was just
Yeah,
like
I
he was just like a backup big that couldn't shoot. So I was like, why would you ever pick him in a fantasy draft? But nonetheless, the Nazi Muhammad episode, we'll have it next week. That's Tim Fournier. He's Zach Patrom. I'm Ian Mills. Thanks, Will, for watching,
Peace.
listening. Bye. Uh, I will
I love Will
eventually end this
commenting
recording.
on every video.
Zach